Hello everyone, welcome back to another problem tutorial from chapter 3 problems tutorials playlists, this time for chapter 3 from our BUS 325 investments course. In this particular video we're going to be looking at problem number 14, so let's read it together. It says DRK Inc. has just sold 100,000 shares in an initial public offering, so an IPO. The underwriters' explicit fees were $60,000. The offering price for the shares was $40 per share, but immediately upon issue, the share price jumped to $44. What is your, so that's the first requirement, what is your best guess as to the total cost to DRK of the equity issue? Okay. Now here, the IPO cost includes two components, the explicit cost and the implicit cost, right? The explicit cost is already given to us to be $60,000. So this is the amount that DRK has paid to the underwriters, the financial institution that is overseeing and performing the IPO. Okay, so they paid them the $60,000 amount for them to go ahead and issue or oversee the initial public offering, right? However, there is another component to the cost, which is called the implicit cost. So we could start here by writing down our answer. So we have the total costs of the IPO equals explicit costs plus the implicit costs. Okay. Now, the explicit costs is already given in the question to be $60,000. Okay, now we just need to calculate the implicit cost. Now, how can we figure out the implicit cost? From the information given to us in the question. The offering price was $40 per share. However, immediately upon issue, the share price jumped to $44. What does that mean? That means if the underwriters and DRK had issued or promoted the issue, the IPO, for $44 per share, it would probably have been covered completely. So they could have priced the issue at $44 and they would still get all the funding that they were hoping to get. Okay. However, because they priced it at $40 only, they have lost the difference, which is $4 per share. This is called underpricing. Okay. So the implicit cost is going to equal $44 minus $40, okay, multiplied by the number of shares, which is given to us here to be 100,000 shares. So multiplied by 100,000 shares. Okay. So the implicit cost is going to equal $4 multiplied by 100,000, which is equal to $400,000. All right. What does that mean? Now we can go ahead and put these two costs together, the implicit cost and the explicit cost, and we get the total cost. So we'll go back to our original formula. The total cost, total IPO cost, is going to equal the explicit cost of $60,000 plus the implicit cost of $400,000. and that would equal $460,000. Okay. Now we'll go back to the question. We have another part here, part B. It says, is the entire cost of the underwriting that we just calculated here, okay, is the entire cost of the underwriting a source of profit to the underwriters? They're asking, does the underwriter get all of this amount, which is the total, the $460,000? The answer is no. The underwriters only get the explicit cost component, which is the $60,000, right? However, this could be a marketing step that the underwriters take, because the company wants to make sure that they get all of their shares, the IPO, covered, okay? And they tend to underprice it by a little bit. If they had to price it higher, typically the underwriter will have to take extra steps like marketing campaigns and things like that to make sure that the issue is covered completely. So in that scenario, DRK would have most likely paid more in explicit costs to the underwriters, right? So the short answer to this is no. You could just write down no, but it's also important to understand why the answer is no. The answer is no because this price difference that occurred from underpricing the stock is an opportunity cost. It's not really an explicit cost. It does not really go directly to the underwriters. Okay, that's it for this problem. I hope that you found this tutorial useful. If you have any questions, make sure you drop them down in the comments. And until I see you in the next problem tutorial, take care.